Good morning. This is Tuesday, May 26th, the regular meeting of the Clay Township Board. 7 a.m. We're in the community room at the John Hensel Center. I'd like to call the meeting to order. The first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next order of business is approval of minutes. Matt, you and I will be approving the February 24th.
So moved.
I second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And Matt, you and Paul will be approving the next.
So moved.
And seconded.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Public comments. Alan, we have Alan Davis from the Carmel Symphony. Is there anyone else who'd like to fill a sheet out before Alan starts speaking? Great. Alan, it's all yours.
Good morning to all of you. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Alan Davis. I'm president and CEO of the Carmel Symphony Orchestra. And we have just are launching a very exciting time with the orchestra to celebrate our 40th anniversary season. In 1975, the orchestra started as a group of Carmel residents who hadn't played instruments since high school, who decided they wanted to dig their instruments out and sit in a church basement and make music. And from that humble beginning, the orchestra has grown into a very fine, widely recognized regional orchestra that draws regularly 1,100 people to the Palladium for one of our concerts. And in the course of the entire year, when we include our outside concerts in the summer, like Mallow Run and Carmel Fest, we'll approach about 28,000 people that hear the Carmel Symphony Orchestra. The orchestra is, for those of you that don't know, is a very unique orchestra because it's made up of professional musicians. That's not unique. The fact that some of them are paid and some of them aren't is very unique. We continue with our roots of all volunteers back in the day, with about 2/3 of the orchestra being volunteer musicians. And their contribution to the Carmel Symphony Orchestra represents about $106,000. If we had to replace these wonderful, talented musicians with paid musicians, it would cost the orchestra an extra $106,000 a year. So we are very proud, very happy, and very appreciative of our volunteer musicians. You may or may not know, we are the resident orchestra in the Palladium. We play all of our concerts there, and as I said, 1,100 people is our average for a concert. We, I think, typically are one of the highest drawing organizations or events in the Palladium outside of the country and Western series. Last year, we were very pleased to add further visibility to the orchestra by bringing in the Texas tenors and completely changing the image of a symphony orchestra, not just a very stuffy experience, but something that people can have fun with. Honestly, this has been the mission of this orchestra for at least the last 15 years. That orchestra concerts do not have to be stuffy, they don't have to be so strictly controlled that you're afraid to even breathe in the wrong spot. We bill ourselves as a family-friendly orchestra. So if you have a 2-year-old, feel free to bring the 2-year-old to the concert. If the 2-year-old gets a little antsy during the concert, just take the child out. When they're ready to enjoy again, come back in. We don't have any age requirement for attending a Carmel Symphony Orchestra concert. And our wonderful artistic director, Dr. David Bowden, does a wonderful job in the course of the concerts in talking to the audience about the music they're hearing so that everybody feels like they're part of the experience and not somebody, an outsider looking in that doesn't know the super secret sign to enjoy music. So I know this is being recorded, and I'm going to use this moment to say I hope everybody in the community we serve will take advantage of hearing your community orchestra. I've given all of you some materials, the program book from our last season, our brochure for the upcoming 40th anniversary season, and a sampler CD of various things that we played 2 seasons ago. So we're very proud of what we do. As I said, we're starting our 40th anniversary, and we've spent time with lots of folks trying to decide exactly how that anniversary can best be celebrated. And of course, the first opportunity, somebody said, well, we should have a black tie dinner dance and a silent auction and all the usual suspects characters for one of these things. That didn't quite seem right to us, partly because I would rather, die 1,000 deaths than put on a tuxedo. But it didn't seem right to celebrate an orchestra that we view as a community asset, that we view as giving back to the community and being engaged in the community, by immediately doing something to celebrate our anniversary that kind of puts a barrier between segments of our community and asking people to shell out large amounts of money. So we settled on, and we just got confirmation from the Center for the Performing Arts that on Saturday, September 12th, we are going to do a community celebration concert. And unlike our usual concerts, it has a tiered pricing that ranges from $65 to $15 for tickets. Every seat in the Palladium will be $5.
That's great.
And we want this to be an opportunity for our community to come and hear the orchestra. The concert will be shorter than normal. The concert will have pieces that people would like to hear an orchestra play, from John Williams to Wicked to 2 excerpts of piano concertos. It's going to be a very fast-paced, enjoyable evening, followed by a party to celebrate our 40th anniversary. And so I'm here today to speak. I know that on your agenda is a special request for funding for the Carmel Symphony Orchestra. And I'm here to represent that request, which we hope you will pass, and that will fund this concert that we're going to do to celebrate with our community our service to this wonderful city and township. Also, it will help fund the spectacular music that we have prepared for our 40th anniversary. The one thing that I want to stress about the Carmel Symphony Orchestra is, and we're extremely proud of this, we are an organization that gives back to our community. I know so many times organizations come and ask for funds from you or for the city or the state, and they look at it as a one-way street. We don't. We take some of the money that we get from all of the different sources of our funding, and we give a free concert to our community on the 4th of July. The orchestra is not paid for that concert. It's part of our mission. We give a free concert to all the 5th graders in the Carmel Clay schools in November called Sounds Exciting, which is a concert to get them engaged with their selection of musical instruments for band and orchestra, or to encourage them to sing in a choir. We work very closely with the music teachers in Carmel Clay to design that concert. When something is needed for a civic celebration, the Carmel Symphony Orchestra provides, such as the brass quintet for the tree lighting ceremony. It's something we're very committed to. And again, one aspect of our orchestra, the family-friendly aspect, is something that's reinforced by the fact that we take some of the money that we get from various sources, our patrons, our sponsors, our foundations that grant money to us, and we give reduced price tickets to students and college students. Any student or child under the age or under high school and under, can attend any concert of the Carmel Symphony for $5. Any student in college can attend one of our concerts for $10. We are that committed to the educational things that we do. So your the request we have to you that you're going to consider will enable us to continue to do many of these things as we celebrate our 40th anniversary. I think that's the best commercial I could give for the Carmel Symphony, so thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, Paul?
No, that was outstanding. I appreciate very much your presentation, and it's good to finally meet you.
Likewise.
And I promise I will do my best to start attending some of these events. I know my parents go, and they very much love the symphony. So.
Well, sitting to your left is somebody who can make sure you go. She'll take you and...
Oh, my other left. Yeah, I know Mary's very passionate about it, and that's great. Thank you.
Matt, comments? I had my first symphony ticket when I was 11 years old, and it was the Grand Rapids Symphony Orchestra. And I've had one every year since then. And my children were raised going to the South Bend Symphony, doing the same thing. So I really believe in symphony orchestras and what they can do for the community. And we're very grateful for the Carmel Symphony Orchestra and the benefits it gives to the Carmel community. Thanks, Alan. So we are very happy to consider an action item, which is a resolution of the Clay Township Board for a grant to the Carmel Symphony. And it's resolution number 2015-05-26-01. Would you like me to read it, or shall we?
Excuse me, Madam President. Hold on. No, that's a different resolution. It's just this is just before you guys. This grant request is just before you to make the decision on whether you're going to
whether we're going to do it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I jumped ahead.
It's just like a grant. So okay, and it is $30,000. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Great.
So just to clarify that.
Okay.
Well, all right. You almost said a resolution for something else.
Well,
Would you like
Chairman,
to put it into motion, please?
I would move that we adopt and grant the request made by the Carmel Symphony Orchestra.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Paul?
No, I'm very enthusiastic about this. When you first brought this to us several months ago, and I know we had to table it for various reasons, but now's the time, and I'm glad to support it.
Matt? Any? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nay votes? All right, thank you very much. I would like to correct one thing in here. It gives an amount, is that?
Yes, that was original, and then it was
Right.
changed later to $30,000.
Okay.
That's the only difference on that is it was changed to $30,000.
All right, thank you very much.
I would like to thank you on behalf of the entire Carmel Symphony Orchestra family. And the one thing I forgot to tell you is that the Township Board has a long history with the orchestra. In the early years, when it was not the orchestra that it is now, support from the Township Board kept this orchestra alive. And so on behalf of all who came before me, thank you.
Thank you. Well, now we'll go to the right resolution.
There you go.
The next resolution is for transfer of funds from the Park Capital Non-Reverting Fund 1215 to the Rainy Day Fund of 0061. Doug?
Yeah, normally we get our COA, the amount of COA we get every year. The first thing that comes out of that is the non-reverting fund, the 1215 fund, and our wonderful accountant, Angie Stino, with us today. And when we were looking it over, we got our 1782 notice, and we noticed that there was $140,119 more. And what we decided we'd like to do is move that to the rainy day fund to try to build that fund up. So that's what the resolution is all about. Then the short parks aren't being shortened any. So I'm just asking you today to approve the transfer of $140,119 to the rainy day fund. Very simple.
May I have a motion to that effect, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second. So why, I mean, I guess we know the parks are probably going to be asking us for money for land purchase here coming up. Like, why?
No, this is, basically, the 1215 fund gets, only money that goes in there is from the COET because of the debt to the Central Park. Okay, so every year we get, our accounting firm goes through and determines how much of that COET, because they get the bigger chunk. It's well over $2 million every year. So basically, it's figured out how much should they actually get, and then the rest of it, we kind of divided up into the other funds or where we might have a shortfall, we need the money, so we will then move the other money. And this is only for, I mean, we get COET besides just because of the debt. You know, we get property COET and stuff like that. So we kind of break it up from that standpoint, and where, you know, our fire COET, the fire department gets it, well, the fire fund gets it, and the general fund gets it, and so that's how, and township assistant gets it. So that's how it's broken up. It's not all this COET that comes in that automatically doesn't go to park. Now, they have I think like 6.4 million in the park non-reverting fund, the non-reverting fund, where that COET goes, and if they budget so much every year out of that fund. If they go over that, then they have to come back for a additional appropriation, which I don't think they've done it, but maybe once in my 7 years I've been here. So, but that's the purpose of this.
So the non-reverting fund will go from 6.5 million down 100 and whatever that number you just said.
Yeah, I go down 140,000.
And the rainy day
But
fund
they actually, I mean, they get over $200,000 a month put into that.
No, I'm not.
You see,
yeah,
you know, so-
But then the rainy day fund will go from 4,300 to.
Yeah,
Uh,
right.
Plus.
Actually, yeah.
And then, if I can, Matt, those funds are still available for appropriation for any purpose consistent with the township's mission.
Okay.
So by making this move, how much does our rainy day fund go to? About a
143.
total?
I can tell you real quick.
It's in the motion.
Yeah.
It will go to 144,389.
Okay.
Should we begin again? Is there a second?
I second.
All right. Any discussion, Paul?
No, thank you.
Any further discussion, Matt? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. It's approved. Thank you.
And I probably should have done this earlier, and that is the add-on that you all received when I dropped
Yes.
your packets off. And I probably should have brought this up at the very beginning of the meeting, but this is something that needs to be addressed. I'll let the attorney address that. It has to do with that, the sublease of the 3 fire projects we're going, so I will turn it over to Mr. Bosma.
Thank you, Mr. Trustee. First of all, I'd encourage the board to amend its agenda today under action items to include a C, Resolution 2015-05-2602.
I move for amending the agenda for today's meeting to include an action item C, an add-on action item for Resolution 2015-05-2602.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you.
Thank you. What you have before you is a resolution and a sublease and management agreement to complete the loop on our proposed public safety project with the City of Carmel. As you will recall, almost a year ago, you all approved an interlocal cooperation agreement that anticipated the construction of 3 projects, which you'll hear some details on from the construction manager today, the renovation of Station 43, 44, and a new fire training facility. And as part of that, there was created the Carmel Clay Municipal Building Corporation, in which both the township and the city have appointees to. They are technically the owner and constructor and landlord of that project under statutory provisions for the financing. They will lease the facility to the township pursuant to a lease which you reviewed and approved last year, and then the township will sublease the facility to the City of Carmel, each of the facilities to the City of Carmel, for use by the Carmel Clay Fire Department. So what you have before you today for approval is the draft form of the final contractual piece of that puzzle, and that is the sublease and management agreement between the township and the city. This is virtually identical to the sublease that the township has with the Parks and Recreation Board for the Monon Center. It's obviously, it's customized for public safety and the other purposes that are being facilitated through this transaction, but it's virtually identical. And it's essentially, it says, city, you are responsible for maintaining, for any taxes that are on it. There won't be any for insurance. Very typical sublease, and it just allows the city to use the property to facilitate the transaction that we've discussed. I'd be very happy. Sorry to give it to you late. We were tied up with construction documents last week, so I didn't get it to Doug until late Thursday or early Friday morning, and be happy to answer any questions or walk through some of the technical details of the document.
All right. We just introduced it the way that we always do.
Yes, yeah, it's approval of the resolution is what it will ultimately be, which goes through the transactional highlights that I just indicated.
Madam Chairman, I move to adopt the add-on amendment, which is a resolution 2015-05-2602.
Is there a second? All in favor say aye.
Or do we have any discussion?
Oh, any discussion?
Matt?
Matt?
No discussion.
No, that's fine. Thank you. All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you.
It's our hope the City Council will consider this on June 1. We haven't heard back yet if it could be on their agenda that early, but the statute does say that you can enter into these transactions prior to, do the financing prior to transfer the property and the subleasing, so we'll get it done.
Great. Thank you very much. We're at information items. Doug?
Yes, our construction team is here. So Kevin, if you or John want to stand up and speak. John, as you know, is our construction manager, and Kevin is our architect.
Morning, Board. Just wanted to give a brief update since our last meeting. Kevin and his team at Axis have been working diligently completing the drawings along with the fire chief and his staff. That has happened. Those drawings are out to bid on stations 43 and 44 as of last week. Also, in the last 30 days, we did put out a request for quote for the demolition of Station 44. That contract had been awarded, and we're looking for that to be demoed as early as this week. We're working through a couple last hurdles on permitting for that demolition. A couple keynote or dates coming up. We're going to receive bids June 18th. We'll be looking probably for a special meeting around the 29th of June to review those bids and the final budgets for each station 43 and 44 so that we can issue notice to proceed. And we're looking to commence both those projects July 6th, right after the 4th of July holiday. As far as completion timelines, we're looking at an owner move-in around the 1st of December for Station 43 and about the middle of May for Station 44. Regarding the maintenance and trading facility, we're going to start into the final design steps of that immediately here in the coming weeks. I've been waiting to get 43 and 44 out to bid. Is there any type of finance update we need to give right now? Timeline, anything?
We'll hit some highlights, and we're actually meeting right after this meeting to hammer out some details, but we're looking at closing on the bond issue in early July. July 1st, 2nd is what we had discussed, but we need to go through some details. John, you said June 18th for bid opening? I thought it was
Sorry, that was 23rd.
It's June 23rd, right?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, construction
23rd.
bids open June 23rd. There happens to be a township board meeting that evening, coincidentally, so you'll kind of hear the update. One thing I meant to mention, there's been some confusion about who awards the bids. Let me just go over a couple of those details so it's clear for all of us. So this project is owned and being bid by and will be contracted for construction by the Carmel Clay Municipal Building Corporation.
Right.
Right? So the township is the tenant, in quotes, sublease to Carmel. I know that seems confusing, but that comports with the statutory provisions for how we've creatively financed this. The Municipal Building Corporation appointed the trustee as their lessor representative. So technically, Doug or the trustee, is the entity that approves these contracts on behalf of the Municipal Building Corporation. Your all approval resolutions authorize the trustee to do that with periodic updates to you. Okay, so I've had a couple questions. Well, is the township board awarding these bids? Technically, the answer is no. It's the trustee on behalf of the Municipal Building Corporation, but the resolutions do indicate your all's desire to be updated periodically by the trustee. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Who won the demolition award?
Denny Excavating. We had 4 contractors submit quotes on that.
Regardless of statutory provisions, and I don't really care, I would like to be kept, if you, any simple email on that was being awarded and who was awarded would be nice, just so we're kept informed when people ask questions.
Right.
I can do that. When you give it to me, I can forward it to the board members.
Okay.
Okay, or you can add them on there. I don't care, but we'll get it to you. Okay.
Okay, great.
Is there anything you wanted to add, Kevin? Okay. Without any questions, that's all I had. So.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Kevin.
Doug, item B.
We've got a new fire chief, as you know, of a month or so ago. And so you guys had asked about meeting him. At the same time, he brought his assistant chief, Orby Bowles, and his EMS director, Chief Tom Small. And I thought maybe a good time for them to go over a new EMS program that they are working on, or it might be in the process right now, so they'll let us know. We'll both find out at the same time. So, Chief Habush.
Good morning, board members. My name is David Habush, and I am your new fire chief of the Carmel Clay Township Fire Department. Thank you for the opportunity. Trustee Callahan, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to come, and I'm not sure exactly how it's listed on your program. Doug, did you want me to just tell them a little bit about myself?
Yeah, you might talk a little bit about yourself,
Okay.
and then go into let Chief Small, or I don't care whoever you want.
I think we're going to tag team this
whoever,
a little bit.
yeah, you want to
Okay.
talk about it. But I thought the this EMS program was really interesting. So
Absolutely,
it's
absolutely.
kind of one of a kind. So
On March 2nd of this year, I became the fire chief. I've been with the Carmel Fire Department for 24 years. Love and care about the fire department. Love being a member of the community here. Raised my children here. My children have graduated from Carmel High School and attended at lots of elementary schools and middle schools here. Married, got 3 children, and I cannot overemphasize how much I love this community and love this fire department. And we, on behalf of the entire fire department, we appreciate your support and commitment to public safety in our community. As far as the, obviously I've hit the ground running here. There were 3 projects, small projects that you're all familiar with that are currently going on, and with the building projects, and I do want to just address that for just one quick moment. On behalf of the 154 sworn members of the department and the approximate 10 or 11, it fluctuates occasionally, civilian members of the department. Truly thank you for your attention to our building needs and gaps that are currently going on within the buildings and the funding for those buildings. We genuinely appreciate it. We recognize that this is a very unique opportunity that you and the trustee have presented to us to be able to rebuild Station 44 from the ground up, and also to remodel Station 43, and then to address a need that we have had within our organization regarding the warehouse, the maintenance, and our training facility. Just a quick reminder for you, we actually have all three of those facilities. The maintenance facility is housed in our headquarters, and it actually takes up half of a bay in the main fire station. A couple of years ago, we became an accredited agency, and one of the recommendations from the accreditation board through the Center for Public Safety Excellence, they made a recommendation for us to move our maintenance facility out of the headquarters. And by building this phase 3, as you folks are calling it, that gives us that opportunity. Currently, for our training facility, we'll refer to it as Command Training Center, CTC. We're currently at the good grace of PEDCOR Corporation. They are allowing us to work and train out of a facility that they have over on 3rd Avenue. Obviously, the city and the department do not have control of that building, but through their generosity, we've been able to be in that building for the last 3 years training, so that's a great opportunity we've had. And then finally, our warehouse facility. The fire stations are very adequate for our personnel and our frontline equipment. Some of our reserve equipment that we house, we really don't have a place for. So through the generosity of others, we've been able to use a warehouse that is located just off of 3rd Avenue. It's all in the Old Woods Wire area up on 3rd Avenue. And I've just recently been told that that building has been sold. So the timing of this is really wonderful, and we look forward to working with you on this project, and genuinely thank you very much on behalf of the entire department. So, and with that, if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them, or we can talk afterwards.
Any questions, Matt and Paul?
No.
Well, Chief, I asked your predecessor this, and maybe you can answer it. You are the architect, and the construction manager has fully brought you up. You've looked at everything, and there's nothing else you want. 6 months from now, you can't think of anything. You'll be like, man, I wish I had asked for that, or I wish I had that.
That's a great question, and the simple answer to that is yes. We've the very first, on my second day of being in this position, I walked in and everyone was very inviting and very warm. I walked into a meeting with the construction manager and also the architect, and I said that my desire was not to make this my personal building. It was not my desire to change anything, but I wanted to come in and fully be able to understand why we're doing what we're doing. There were a couple items that I pointed out that were very important to me. One of them was a fire sprinkler system in Station 43. That item was added. And then also, to your point, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, to come back and ask for more money because we missed something is not very prudent, and it's not a very good use of taxpayers' dollars. One item that I did request to add on to Station 43 renovation, actually there were two. The first one was the fire sprinkler system. The second one was future availability for a 5th and 6th firefighter to work out of that fire station. As you all know, the budget is incredibly tight, and so and Envoy and Axis have done a great job working with our administration to be able to stretch the dollars as far as they possibly can. The one item that we are adding to the Station 43 project is another dormitory on the 2nd floor that'll house a 5th and 6th firefighter for future use. The room will not be finished out 100%, but all of the mechanicals will all be roughed in, and it'll be ready to be finished if we need that in the future. So it's really difficult to tell what our future needs will be in 5 or 10 years, but we did want to make sure that we plan for the future so that if we do have to add an ambulance to that district, that we would have the capabilities of doing that without actually increasing the size of the building or coming back and doing an additional renovation to the project. So to simply answer your question, yes, they did a wonderful job of explaining it, and any concerns or issues that I personally had have all been addressed, and they've done a great job. So thank you.
One thing about that too, Matt, that's kind of a funny question when you ask the fire service that, because they opened it up, and I will tell you, the fire administration opened it up to the guys, and they came back with some pretty spectacular things. So we had to, after that, and we told them that we would be cut back to reality, okay? And so I think from my standpoint, and I want to tell you something, the fire department administration has worked hand in hand with Kevin and John both on this. I have kind of stepped back and say, okay, but as long as we have the money, not a problem. And so that's what exactly has happened. And so the administration, okay, if something comes back that hey, we didn't get this, those three guys, well, the two guys right here, okay, old Bowles and the chief will be the person. But no, they really did it the right way. They opened it up. They allowed the firefighters to come up with unimaginary things, I'm telling you. But then they cut it back and they say, okay, let's be realistic about what we really need. And I commend you guys for doing that. And John and Kevin, I know you've learned a lot about firefighters, haven't you? Yeah. Okay. So it's one of those things. So if you ever get a phone call from a firefighter, you might want to check it out, okay? Because their wish list was quite extensive.
Well, personally, I'd like to thank you and Chief Bowles for spending the morning with me last week when we went through the drawings and out to where the facilities will be and where they're coming down already. I'm very impressed, really. It was a very interesting morning, and certainly enjoyed the time with you and learning exactly what it is that you're trying to achieve in each place. So I thank you again.
Thank you for taking the opportunity to come and visit with us, and I'd like to extend that offer to the other board members. You're welcome to be part of this project as much or as little as you would like. And we will also try to make sure that we keep you informed as far as the timelines and updates periodically. Obviously, anytime you do a construction project, as Envoy, will make sure that we're very well aware of this. You know, weather and situations beyond our control can change the timelines. And so I was pleasantly very, very happy this morning to hear the timeline of moving into Station 43, because that date was earlier, and then it became later, and now it's become earlier. So we're excited to hear that, and with the help of Trustee Callahan, we've had a couple meetings, and so we're working through a few issues, but they've been very flexible, and they've definitely helped work with our needs, and we've established our priorities and our timelines and things that are very important for us as far as making sure that we're able to continue responding in a normal fashion for public safety. So we're very excited about these projects, and once again, thank you all very much.
John, you did say October 1st. Is that what you said for 43?
Any questions about any of those items that we've discussed? I guess at this moment in time, I'd actually like to introduce Chief Tom Small. We've been working for the last several years on a program. You may have heard some communities refer to it as community paramedicine. And we have chosen not to call it that because the fire service actually has not come out with an official definition of what community paramedicine is, and so it's been a very conscious effort for the Carmel Clay Fire Department not to call our program community paramedicine. Very similar to it, but we've actually got a couple twists to our program, and I'd like for Chief Small to give you an overview. Our program is called Mobile Integrated Health Program, MIHP. And rather than stealing his thunder, I'll just let him come up and give an overview. I guess from a layperson's perspective, essentially the program that we've noticed over the years is that we've noticed there's a gap between our response and our people who live and visit our community being able to fit their needs. An example would be if we have a patient that we respond on that continues to fall down in their home. They call 911. It is 100% reactive. We can't show up to their house until they actually call us. So they call 911, we respond. We go out, we pick the patient up. If they're injured, we transport them to the hospital. They go through the ER process. The ER checks them out. They'll make some recommendations, and then they'll send them back home, only for the patient to fall again. The patient falls again, they call 911, so on and so forth. And so we've identified some gaps in the system. And so we've tried to take a proactive approach to addressing some of those gaps in our system. This didn't happen in the last 3 months. It didn't happen in the last year. This has been a program that has been very intentional over the last several years. And without giving away too much, I'll bring Chief Small up here and let him explain in further detail what's going on with the program.
Thank you. Good morning. Like Chief Albush said, it's we call it mobile integrated healthcare because what we're trying to do is to integrate all the healthcare giving businesses, or whatever you want to call them, together to try to help our customers. So what we do is we all know about the Affordable Care Act. We all know how that's changing the healthcare system. So what we have found is that EMTs and paramedics, first responders, can make a big difference with the Affordable Care Act. And the way we do that is hospitals now have, possibly could get penalized for patients getting readmitted back into the hospital within a 30-day period. If they get dismissed, they have congestive heart failure, COPD or emphysema, things like that. They get dismissed from the hospital within that 30-day period. If they get readmitted, then the hospitals get penalized for that. Medicare and Medicaid would not pay them for that readmission within that 30-day period. So we felt like we had some leverage there to where we could help out our customers, where we could go visit them during that 30-day period. One thing that we can do as paramedics that home health care cannot do is we can treat the patients in their home without calling and getting an order or waiting 2 or 3 hours or whatever else. We can just show up and start treating. And the ACOs, or the accountable care organizations that the hospitals have, their Medicare and Medicaid patients belong to and their associates belong to, have figured that out as well now. And here in the near future, we will be working with Mission Point, that is St. Vincent's ACO, and we will be doing home visits for any of their patients, trying to keep them from being readmitted into the hospital in that 30-day period. Some other things that we have done is, like Chief has said, we have started a fall prevention program to where we'll go out on our what we have called now our EMS loyalty customers, that they call us quite a few times a month. And when I first started this, I thought, okay, how do I come up with how to define that? How do you define the EMS loyalty customer? So I thought, well, if somebody calls 911 4 times in a year, to me, that's a lot. I mean, I've been alive for 45 years and I've never called 911. So I'm thinking if somebody calls it 4 times in a year, that's pretty significant for the clientele in which we serve. I got to C's and was already above 40. So I realized that we did have an issue with people who called 911 a lot. So we went out and started on a proactive front and went out and visited these patients ahead of time, seeing what their needs were, addressing those needs, and we have seen a tremendous decline in those 911 calls. So that's great. You know, that's where we have 3 guys who work a 8-hour shift every day, Monday through Friday, and they go out and they visit these patients and meet the needs that they have, whether that's to get them home health care, to get them to their family physician, to get medications for them. They'll go into the CVS or Walgreens or whatever and get their medications for them. We've had several that they had to go to the grocery store for them and get groceries because they didn't have groceries in their home. So we have recently, for our efforts in that, we applied for a grant through St. Vincent's Health Foundation, and we received a $25,000 grant from them to help us fund this program. We are currently waiting on news from another grant from Ascension Health for $40,000 that we have been told that we have. We're just waiting on it to show up. So it's an exciting new way that that EMS is going to. It's more of a proactive approach rather than a reactive approach for our customer service. In a nutshell, that's basically what we're doing. So anything else you would like to add to that?
I just want to fill in a couple gaps, just for total clarity here. The 3 8-hour shifts that Chief was talking about, those are actually on-duty shift firefighters who are actual paramedics, and so we're taking them off the truck for a small period of time during the day and allowing them to go in a pre-designated marked CFD vehicle to be able to go to the patient's homes and to check on them for various reasons. Our goal is to make that a 24-hour staff position. We have applied for a federal grant asking for additional funds to be able to fund this program. We have yet to hear. It'll probably be mid to late summer before we hear if we receive that federal grant to actually pay the salaries for that position. So big picture, that's the future. That's where we're going with the program. I guess the grassroots effort of all of this really lies with the firefighters that are on the fire trucks. When they respond to someone's home, if they see that there's a gap or that maybe a patient maybe needs some additional help, a normal call, 911 call, our on-scene time, meaning the time that we actually spend in the patient's home, is always very short. The object is on the majority of the calls. There's a few specific instances where we'll stay as long as we need to, but the goal is to get the patient packaged up and get them to the hospital to see a doctor as quickly as possible. So the grassroots effort of this program really lies with the firefighters going into someone's home when we've been requested from 911, and when they identify that there's trips and fall hazards, or that the patient explains to them that they don't have any medicine, or that they don't have any food, or they notice things, they'll actually log into our system and send a follow-up request, because obviously the goal for the people that are responding 911, since it is an emergency service, is to get back in service as quickly as possible for the next run that comes in. And so the Chief Small and his staff have developed an internal system for gap identification for patients, and then they can follow up on them at a later date. So, do you have anything else to add to that?
Unless they have any questions.
Questions?
Any
about the
questions,
program?
Paul? Matt? I think it sounds terrific. My mother's 96 years old, and she has had need in Alabama of the service of the EMS. So,
one other, we've got a lot of community partners that are working with us on this program, and the reason why it sounds like there's, I'll be honest, we're really progressing at this at a very intentional pace, and it's not, we're just not diving into this. We're trying to be very thoughtful about it. At some point in time, as you know, we have an ambulance service, transport service at the fire department, staffs and runs. And at some point in time, this will be paired up with the ambulance transport program. And there are opportunities for funding potentially from this program, not specifically from the patients, but from other community partners. Chief Small had talked about some other opportunities to work with hospitals on this. And we, the fire department, have some unique opportunities that we can actually treat patients as opposed to some of these other conventional home health care companies. And you know, another community partner is Central Indiana Council on Aging, and they've actually
Is that
been
Socoa?
Socoa,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. And I know that the township works, I believe, with Socoa as well. And we've met some great friends through Socoa, and we've referred plenty of the people who live in our community and visit our community to Socoa to help in some of those gap areas. And so they've been wonderful. But big picture, this is really the future of the fire department. It really is. And just as the fire service had to change in the 60s and 70s, this is, and then in the 80s and 90s with EMS, and this is really the next chapter in the future of the fire service. And I believe that we're out leading the way as opposed to being 100% reactive. We are taking a proactive approach, and I believe that we're out in front of this. There's only a handful of fire departments across the country that are doing programs like this, and we are the leader in this area as far as starting a program similar to what we're doing. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Chief Small wanted to also make you aware of, we're very proud of our EMS. Everyone, just quick recap, 154 sworn members on your fire department. Everyone is an EMT. About a third of the department are paramedics, and Chief Small had put in the Carmel EMS program and Carmel firefighters for an award, and I'll let him make that announcement.
The American Heart Association, they grant awards for different things. One that we applied for was, well, I'll just give you a brief history on it. Back in February, we told our guys in a training, this is what we want to do. We want to get our stats ready so we can start being recognized for the job that they do every day they come into work. So we got working on that, and we were able to apply for an award through the AHA for ST elevation myocardial infarction runs. What that is when they go on a run, somebody having chest pain, we do a 12 lead inside the house, inside the business, wherever they're at. And if we see on that 12 lead that they are having a heart attack, then we can treat them appropriately, take them to the appropriate facility within a certain amount of time. In order to get this award, it was 75% of our runs that involved a ST elevation myocardial infarction. We have to give oxygen, nitro if indicated, do a 12 lead, and transport them to a facility that had a cath lab open 24/7. So we applied for the run, or we applied for the award, and they give us the bronze award through the American Heart Association. We actually qualified for the gold, but since it was our first year of ever doing it, they would only give us a bronze. Next year when we do it, they will give us a silver, and then the third year we do it, they will give us the gold. But your fire department is, in my opinion, at the gold standard now. We have been for years. We just now started applying for the awards. But over 90% of the runs that we go on that involve this type of run, we meet that criteria for them. So that's very good, very good. For a fire-based EMS service, it's one of the best in the nation. So if you'd like to see the plaque, I'll just bring it up to you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hey, I do have one question, of course, right? With this day and age, with all these crazy people out there. When the guys, say for instance, you're going to check up on somebody, how do you go about doing that? Is there any way that a senior or, you know, somebody that's mentally or physically handicapped understands that at the front door is that paramedic or whatever? Is there anything? Should they be wearing something? Do you call ahead? What transpires?
Right now, there's several ways in which we get the names in which we need to go out and follow up. One is, like the chief said, through our own guys doing the 911 calls and and responding and be able to see that. Another way is if they go to the emergency room, we don't take them, but they go to the emergency room, then the emergency room may call us and say, hey, this may be a person that could qualify for your mobile integrated healthcare program. Another way is just we've gone to the 3 guys that we have. They've gone to different of the community organizations, such as the AMVETS, the Lions Club, a lot of the church organizations that meet with the senior citizens, widow organizations. They've gone out. They've told them this is what we're doing. If you need us, call us, give them all the numbers. So we've got a lot of them through that as well. Oh yeah, we also work with Prime Life.
Okay.
And,
So if I was taken to the hospital and I go home, they send me home a day later or whatever, okay, and you guys find out and you're going to do follow-up care with me or follow up with me, I mean, do you make that phone call?
Yes.
You make the phone call to that person?
Yeah, those 3 guys make an initial phone call, decide when would be a good day.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
they put it on a calendar, on a schedule,
Mhm.
and then whoever's on that day in which they've agreed upon, they go and visit.
Okay, so they know ahead of time, so, you know, they don't let somebody in the house that shouldn't be in there.
Correct, yes, and they're wearing right now they're wearing, since we started, they've been wearing their badge shirt, so they knew when they come to the door that it was a firefighter there. Now that it's started getting a little warmer, we let them go to the, what we call our golf shirt, which is, you know, has our fire department insignia on it. And
Okay.
we're getting ready to put their names and stuff on their shirts so they know that it is them that come to the door.
Okay.
Yeah, plus the marked vehicle in the driveway, so it makes it
Thank you.
nice.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
We've seen over. We started July 1st of 2014 is when we started this, and to date we have seen well over 150 patients that we've gone and have followed up on. So definitely a need in the community. Not everybody qualifies for home health care, and we have actually are working with 3 different home health care agencies. So they also see that there is a need. It's just a win-win for everybody, I think, as far as the community and us and the other agencies involved.
Something I need to add, because you guys are kind of an extension of the Township Trustee's office. I don't know whether you realize that. When you talk about if they have food, if they have their medications, especially insulin, if they meet our guidelines, you know, we can pay for that. So do keep that in mind, that if you see somebody that's destitute and need things, just let us know, okay? And we'd be happy to help on that too.
Okay. One quick story I'd like to tell you. We had one gentleman that we ran on, and from January 1st of 2014 to July 1st of 2014, we ran on him 35 times. We started the program. After the program started, we did not run on him again. We got him the help he needed, which was he was a severe alcoholic, So we were able to get him a in-place treatment program through the resources in which we had. And to my knowledge, to this date, he is still good. And we have yet to run on him again since first part of July of 2014. So that just happened to be one of the first ones that we saw that was very successful in helping him out. So
And we can refer people to you guys too, right?
exactly. Yep. Yep.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Any questions at all, Paul or Matt? All right. Thank you. Financial questions from the board. Paul, any from you?
I have none.
Matt? I don't have any either. Board comments. Paul, any?
Nothing.
Matt? I have some. I want to thank the fire department. I just realize all the time what a resource you are to the community. And in going through the plans and looking at the sites with you, the excitement of having something as new and helpful in the community, I think is wonderful. And this program, I have a healthcare background, and I did head up a home health agency. And so it is very much interested. I mean, it's interesting to me to hear what the program is, because I think it's really needed. So thank you very much. And thank the rest of you for coming and for your updates, too. That's really important to us. Any announcements, Doug?
Just that our next meeting is June the 23rd.
Is it going to be in the evening, I hope, this time?
It is in the evening at
I'm
6
awake now.
p.m., okay? The only thing is with these bids and stuff that's going on, we might have to have a short meeting for you guys to approve something if that comes up. I'm not saying right now I know of anything right now for sure, but we will try to do everything we can on our board meeting nights, okay? Nights. Nights.
Underline that.
Yeah. Pardon me? Oh, yes, June 23rd is the grant meeting. I don't want to give you guys a lot of stuff for that day because you know how we did 3 hours last year. So
Oh, yes.
we're going to keep this to grants only unless something from the construction or something, the emergency would come up where we have to do it, okay? Other than that, the construction is a play-by-play. I might call you and say, hey, next Monday we need to have a meeting. And, and we'll try to keep it 6 p.m. But if that comes up, we might. So if I get a call from Brian, Angie, John, Kevin, something might come up. I just wanted to prepare you for the next year, okay? So, and thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Any further business? May I have a motion for adjournment, please?
Seconded.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.